Hi everybody and welcome to EFBA, which stands for English for Beginners. In today's video we're gonna take a look at some semi-modal auxiliary verbs and also modal auxiliary verb, which is must. So let's get into it. Prefer is one of the semi-modal auxiliary verb and it shows preference. If you remember, in previous video I talked about would rather, would prefer. They are also semi-modal auxiliary verbs. Not only prefer but also would prefer and would rather. They are semi-modal auxiliary verbs as well. But keep in mind that prefer is followed by gerund infinitive in noun. For instance, I prefer speaking to writing, or he prefers going to staying, or she prefers car to bike. I prefer house to apartment, or I prefer to speak rather than stop, or he prefers to go rather than stay. So it's all about prefer, and you're gonna use prefer when you want to talk about something you like or you choose one of the best one. Okay, let's get into the have to and has to. I'm sure you have seen a lot of people, they're using have to and has to all the time, but keep in mind that have to and has to, they are semi-modal auxiliary verbs and they show obligation. If you need something, if you are obliged to do something, for example, going to school is your need and you need to go to school, you could simply say that I have to go to school, because it's your obligation and you have to go to school. You should go to school, or you have to go to school. Keep in mind that for singular subjects we say he has to go to school or she has to stay here. For instance, I have to study hard. When I say that I have to study hard, it means I need to study hard because I have got a difficult exam. Moreover, they are also used in the negative forms, in negative statements. I have to go to school. I do not have to go to school. Just to bring or add the helping verb do for plural subjects, also the helping verb does in the present for singular subjects. He has to go to school. He doesn't have to go to school. When it's negative statements, you cannot use has to. You should say have to. When it's positive statements, only in positive statements, if the subject is singular, you could use has to. What about whether it's interrogative sentence or negative statement, you should say has to, have to. Okay, so let's talk about the have got to and has got to, because they are having the same functions and they are using in the same way. So what's the difference between has to and have to, or versus the have got to and has got to? I'm sure while you're watching movies or you're following native speakers, I'm sure you have seen a lot of native speakers, they do not use have to and has to. What do they use? What they use is have got to and has got to. Perhaps they might say that I've gotta go, she's gotta go, she's gotta study hard. You know, they're using these short forms. They do not say I have gotta go or she has gotta go. It doesn't sound nice. Moreover, you could use these things or these semi-modal auxiliary verbs in negative forms also. You have not gotta go. Okay, have you gotta go? You could use as interrogative statement. If you are talking about someone and you think he has gotta go, you can ask, have you gotta go? It means do you need to go? And let's talk about the final thing, or which is modal auxiliary verb. Three of them, they are semi-modal auxiliary verb, but keep in mind that must is modal auxiliary verb. You could say modal auxiliary verb. What about three of them? They are semi-modal auxiliary verbs. So must shows necessity, or it also shows strong obligation. If you remember, we talked about need. Need shows necessity, but must also shows necessity. So what's the difference between need and must? Need shows necessity, but must also shows. What's the difference is must shows strong obligation. When something is necessary, if you use must, it means you really have to do something. What about need? You need something, but you cannot use need as must. Okay, must is stronger than need. Let's compare must versus what? Have to and has to. Must shows strong obligation in the first step. Have to and has to, they show also obligation, but they show personal obligation. No, must shows personal obligation. I'm gonna write for you guys. Personal obligation. What about have to and has to? They talk about like generally or impersonal. Okay, must talks about personal obligation. If I say that I must study hard, it means personally I, not somebody else, I have to study hard. If somebody says that he must study hard, or he must not play cricket, but in negative forms it shows prohibition. In the first form, or in the base form, must shows strong obligation. If somebody says that she must drive the car, it means it's the personal obligation of her. If you say she has to drive the car, it means she is not obliged really to drive the car, but it's like public obligation. Everybody should learn how to drive. But must is used for personal obligation. In one thing more about must is modal auxiliary verb, as I mentioned at the beginning. Have to and has to, or have to and have got and has got to, they are semi-modal auxiliary verbs. Hope you understand and learn something from this video. Till next time, bye bye.